Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Miss. We are the Group 1, and I am Dorin O. Candano, the first reporter for this topic. And for the information of everyone, I'm sure you already know that I was able to finish my part during the discussion of my assigned topic during the online class that was on September year 2022, and I was able to finish it. So for the sake of compilation and for the final output of this subject, I will report again my part, and hopefully you will listen again for this video reporting. And now let us proceed with my discussion. What I'm going to discuss is all about theories, philosophies, and guidelines for the care of infant and toddlers. First, let us tackle the theories that can be used as a practice for the care of infant and toddlers. So actually there are so many theories, but most of them are relating to developmental, and we already know some of those theories, and we are already familiar from those. And but for now, what I'm going to share or discuss some theories that I can able to explain and share my thoughts regarding for the care of infants and toddlers. Now let us talk about Erik Erikson. He developed a psychosocial theory to understand how we each develop our individual identities. In his theory, he explained why some of us are independent and others are needy. Some are optimistic or pessimistic. In which his theory, he believed there is one important problem or issue to solve in order to develop a healthy sense of self, a healthy sense of oneself. So, to relate his theory for the care of infants and toddlers, here are some applicable or the Erik Erikson's theories in practice, which the first one is we respond warmly and consistently to baby's needs. So which means na here adults or we adults should know when to respond to the babies, especially na they are still so young or they are still in the early stage of developing, where in fact infants and toddlers are really needy. So the warm and consistent care for the babies can help them to respond immediately with the needs of infants and toddlers. So the second one po kay we talk gently to babies if we can pick them up or deal with their needs right away. Of course, we adults are responsible to talk gently to the babies. In order to avoid understandings, babies are still innocent and they really love to feel being cared by their parents or by any adults. In that way, we can deal with their needs immediately. And the last one, Erik Erikson's theories in practice in infants and toddlers, which is never pressure a child into toileting before they are ready. So which means if the child is not yet ready to be trained into toileting, we adults should not pressure or push them to do alone the toileting, because it might cause them emotional issue or kanang trust nato, magubay lang trust nato, because we pugos nila nabuhaton nilang toileting. But instead, kita na adults, we should not pressure them in doing that thing. We should encourage, instead we need to encourage them to do it gradually, hinahinay na tugtudlo, to let them experience toileting with our guidance and support as well. Now let us move on to another theory, which is the theory of Jean Piaget. He discovered that all children's intellectual development progress through four stages, beginning in infancy and are completed by adolescence. These four stages are, if you remember, we are familiar of these four stages, which are sensory motor, from birth until ages 18 to 24 months, then pre-operational, which from toddlerhood 18 to 24 months through early childhood age 7. Then the third one is concrete operational ages 7 to 11, and the last one is formal operational adolescence through adulthood. So in his theory, he says that intellectual development controls every other aspect of development. Since children learn in different ways of different ages. As they learn, they need to be able to know the facts by being able to see, touch, taste, smell, and hear the things they are learning about. So, dapat magamit ang mga five senses na to during sa learning process of children. In addition, ang iyang theory, he believed that there is a pattern to the way children learn to think, and this pattern goes in stages. And now let's proceed to the Jean Piaget theories in practice. So the first one is know that babies will use materials in a different way to toddlers. Toddlers differently to preschoolers. So which means why materials are different from infants to toddlers and from preschoolers. That is because the materials they are using are might be different from their interests, their abilities or capabilities, as well as from their needs. So if you observe the children kanang sa toddlers pa sila, sa preschoolers pa sila, diha na sila sa preschoolers, kay lahi-lahi na bitaw ang mga duaan or ang mga materials ilang gamiton. That is because one of it kay ang ilang interest nagkausab-usab or mi progress bitaw na ay kausaban. So that's why ang iyang theories kay different way. So the second one is we need to develop an understanding of what children can and cannot do based on their age and intellectual ability. So, nga naman, in taking care of infants and toddlers, we should have understandings when it comes to their intellectual ability based on their ages. We should not let them do things that they cannot do. Instead, we should be the one to guide them in their choice. So, best example po na or best buhato nato as an adults is to monitor their progress. Like, we need to make sure na kanang butanga kay mahinahinay nila buhat, but we need to make sure na kanang kuana is makaya silang abilities or ilang capabilities. But as time goes by, mga complicated things or mga completed tasks kay mabuhat ra gyud na along the way, especially if ma-develop na ang ilaang mga body parts. And the last one is educators' nurturance, so in which includes the comfort, teaching, and play, should be suitable for the individual child stage of thinking. So we future educators should have the sense of nurturance for our pupils or even for infants and toddlers, because this way we can help them we can help them to feel secured. At the same time, we can assure them that what they are doing what they are doing are suitable and helpful for their development as individuals. Now let's move on to the last but not the least. Let's talk about the theory of Maria Montessori. In his theory, Montessori stresses that children learn best by using their senses and pursuing their interests rather than forcing them to learn what is expected. In her theory, she believed that teachers should provide the necessary resources for children to learn independently, because when children are guided with love, they will learn on their own. Children should not forcing to learn what is expected. Instead, we future educators will guide them. Children have their own pace of getting ready. So, based on her theory, we adults or educators should not force the children to learn what is expected, but we need to teach them gradually, patiently, and as well as we need to have enough patience just to make sure that the children are learning at their own best and according to their pace. Now let us move on to the practices of her theories for the care of infants and toddlers. Now let's talk about the Montessori's theories in practice for the care. So the first one is do not yell at the child for unintentional mistakes. So for infants and toddlers, they are really sensitive at the same time very emotional. So that's why kitang adults or we adults should be considerate enough on their mistakes when they commit mistakes or unintentional mistakes. Let us encourage them by doing and telling them na what is right, by telling them what is right and what is wrong. So we need to talk them smooth, being smooth and gentle talk. Of course, we need to consider their level of sensitivity as well. And the second one is observe learning through different experiences. So here for infants and toddlers, they really love being explorer on their own, like kanang mag-adventure ba sila silang kagalingon, or kana bitaw mga bata na they have full of curiosity. So they become curious for the things around them. By letting them experiences, they can learn something from it. So of course, when we let the children or the child to have experience, then that experience could be turned into learnings. We as future teacher even teachers should prioritize their experiences, because when they have experience, they can learn from it, and that could be their basis for the lifelong learning benefits. And the last one is be non-directive. The child will show what they need. So instead of asking or keeping interviewing the child, let them show you what they need. Like for infants, when crying, they like kumuhilak ang mga infants, they like you to feed him or her. Babies will start to communicate with their signals when they are hungry, uncomfortable, or awake. While in toddlers, most of them will show you they just want to play. So if you observe infants or newborn baby, when they feel hungry or uncomfortable with their clothes, muhilak sila or kanang dili sila mahimutang sa ilang kagalingon. So that's one of the basis of the theory of Maria Montessori. So that will be all for the theories of taking care of infants and toddlers. Now let us move on and talk about the philosophies for the care of infant and toddlers. Actually, these philosophies are ideas from early childhood theorists and practitioners that may be helpful in parenting. So, early childhood philosophies and practices that you need to know and use at home. So, the first one is child development milestones follow a predictable sequence. So, from the word predictable sequence, so makapredict ang unsay sunod na development na mahitabo sa children. So child development milestone usually follow a sequence from head to toe as well as from the center of the body outward. Children hold up their heads before they hold up their chest. For example, they sit up before they crawl, stand, and later walk. It is likely children, even infants, can make control to their body. It depends on its capabilities. So from the word, like what I've said, from the word predictable sequence, we adults or even the parents of the child can predict what is the next development that will happen for the child. But for other circumstances, there are some infants who are late developer, like kanam like ang ubang bata advanced na na-develop ang ang capabilities sa pag-crawl, while ang other is dugay or later pa ang ang improvement sa ilang body, but it is just part of their milestone, as well as ang kanang mga sequence is maagian na gud sa mga bata. So the second one is development is unique to each child. So children sometimes have spurts of development. When we say spurts, it is something growth spurts, which are physical changes that occur quickly as the child ages, including the length, height, and width increases. For example, if you have more than one child, especially if they are close in age, it is best not to compare their development, because it is normal when one child advance while the other one is not yet or have late development. So just like what I've said earlier, not all children or not all infants have the same level of development at the same age or at the same year. It is just some of them can na ay late development. So if you are a parent na nay anak na close age, then ang katong maguwang na anak is kanang fully developed na ang iya, while ang second one is kanang nahibong ka nganong late na kay ang development, while ang isa kay dali raman ta. So it is just a normal development or normal process. So dili lang nato dali on, because the child development depends on its capabilities as well as the spurts of growth. Now let's move on to the third philosophy, which is environment matters. So children deserve beautiful, calming, natural environments that have profound positive effects on their well-being. Early childhood educators from Reggio Emilia, Italy, talk about environment being almost as important as the teachers. Of course, it's easier to control the classroom environment than one at home with many family members living together. That's why environment really matters, especially for infants and toddlers who are in needs of comfortable environment. So if you are a teacher in a early childhood education programs where involves infants and toddlers, you have to consider that the environment should be comfortable enough, and of course it should be clean enough in order for the children or for the infants to play around and be safe, of course. And now let's go to the fourth one, which is children learn through scaffolding. So according to Lev Vygotsky, ideas on scaffolding and further explored in Jim Greenman's Thoughts on Early Childhood, children construct their own knowledge, but adults and the social environments serve as the scaffold or the support that encourage constructions of knowledge. Of course, the adult's job is to offer children challenges that are at or slightly above their current level while scaffolding, as the child attempts something new by giving a hand, modeling the skill, or adapting the materials, or even asking open-ended questions. So of course, adults really adults are responsible when it comes to in scaffolding the learnings or experiences of children. Let's go to the fifth philosophy, which is children can solve their own problems. So according to infant and toddler specialist Magda Gerber, parents and caregivers should allow children to independently problem solve whenever possible. For example, if a baby could get himself into a such spot, such example under a chair, he could also get himself out. So which means if ang bata makasud or mapasok sa lingkuranan, he has the way saan paggawasad. So in order for that to solve that problem, he the parents should allow or kanang tagaag chance ang bata to solve his own problems. So the parents watching close by and can say to the baby na, I see you are stuck. Keep trying to get your body out. I'll be right here close by while you are figuring out to solve that problem. I know you can do it. So in that way, you are giving the chance that children or the child to solve his own problems as well as ma-develop or the potentials when it comes being critical thinking as well as also to become problem solver. And the last one is children need choices. So whenever possible, offer choices to a child, but make sure that either choice is acceptable and can be followed through on. For example, when getting dressed in the morning, ask, do you want to wear your yellow shirt or blue shirt this morning? Allowing your child to make choices and following through on your child's choice is respectful way to interact, but be sure to avoid fashion wars with your child. So this approach empowers your child and helps her feel confident in her decision making. So of course sometimes the parents cannot decide all the time what the child or the children want to look like sa nina. So just like sa example, musulog pangutan-on ang bata if she wants to wear the yellow t-shirt or the blue ones, then the child can decide which color she wants to wear in this morning. So in that way, the child, you are giving the freedom of choice or the decision making. Okay, after knowing about the philosophies for the care of infant and toddlers, now let us move on to the another topic, which is the guidelines for the care of infants and toddlers. So let's have the first one, which is bad relationships. So here, infants and toddlers need secure attachments with familiar caregivers to develop trust that their needs will be met and that they are loved. So which means na we future educators or anyone can it is really important that we can build a healthy relationship to the child. It is because when a caregiver or any adults to can support and build a strong foundation of relationship, it can help to motivate young children to try new skills and explore the world. So the second one is na kanam let the child lead. So here you can see infants and toddlers powerful drive to explore their environment and experiment with their own developing abilities. So we adults are the one who will guide the child. Basically, we let the child lead, or he or she can learn to explore in his or her own abilities. So the explorations gives them the best foundation for later academic learning. So if you want to let the child develop their holistically, of course you need to expose them to the different activities that will help them to lead or be leader at their own pace food as well. Third, observe and respond. Caregivers need to learn about children through attentive observation of their child cues. The best example is when they're tired, hungry, we can respond immediately by giving them food. When observing a child can also help us to identify what are their interests, what things that make them challenged, and most of all, by observing we can respond directly and correctly. And the fourth one is create an interesting, safe environment. So infants and toddlers need small groups so they are not overwhelmed by noise and stimulation. So manageable small groups can give the child a sense of security. And and the space should be safe enough to allow the children to explore freely with all dangerous and forbidden objects removed since young children are bold explorers, excited and about experimenting everything they really want it. The space or the environment should totally safe to secure the safe and the security of the child. And the last one is respect the child's rhythms. Times for eating and sleeping should be flexible. Feed and funds on demand and put them down to sleep when they need it. Have snacks or hand for toddlers and suggest rest if they are tired. As much as possible, allow them to play alone or interact with others, especially with caregivers or other children when they choose. They get the most of activities when they are ready for them. So of course, when we let the child to explore at their own, especially interacting with other children or other playmates, that will serve a big help for them to grow holistically, and also to develop their sense of socialism. And that will be all for my part. I hope you learned something. Thank you.